What's going on, everybody? This is Marc, your host of the Project FitFo podcast. And man, again, like always, I got a special one today. I say it every week, but you know what? It's actually true. I really do have a special one this week.
That's what my teacher said.
Well, besides you being special, you're special to me, right? So, but I want to introduce to everybody Mr. Felix Quiñones, also known as
Cute.
Q. Yeah, welcome to the Project FitFo
What's up,
podcast,
brother,
my
man?
man. How you doing?
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm
good to
pretty
have you.
good.
Thank you for being here, my man.
Yeah.
We have built an awesome relationship over the past, let's see, since August of 22.
Yeah.
So we're talking about almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
a little over maybe 18 months, something like that. But it feels like a lifetime. One thing about me and you is we are very much alike,
Kindred spirits, some would say.
which could be a good thing, and it could be a little bashing of heads,
Yeah.
right? But that's why I found it very interesting, because I have gotten to know you
Yeah.
over this time, and you know, you're a phenomenal photographer, phenomenal videographer. You have built a media business now, and we're gonna tap in and learn a little something about you. I know you have your lovely wife here as well,
She did best.
Miss Lena Quiñones.
That's right.
Anybody needs
That's
a tax preparer or tax anything, please
Yeah.
reach out to her. But she's gonna be off camera and also off mic, so
Yeah.
this is between me and you, buddy.
It's on.
All right. So if you can, please tell everybody, repeat your name, how old you are, where you came from, like where you were born, and where you lived and things of that nature. And let's talk a little bit about your backstory.
Okay. So my name's Felix Quiñones. I go by Q. That's a military thing. It's just nobody could pronounce my last name. I grew up in Virginia, but my dad was in the Army too, so I lived all over the place. So I say grew up because I think I hit Virginia in like 5th grade. And then from there, that's where I stayed. So I always tell people that's my hometown.
Yeah,
Small town. It was called Colonial Heights, Virginia.
I know it.
Because Fort Lee's right. Yeah,
exactly.
So we used to. It was called Colonial Whites at the time when I got there, because I think at the time the non-Caucasian population was like a fraction. I think when me and my brothers went to school, we were one of like 7 or 8 non-white kids at the school at this time. Like that was the first time I ever experienced racism, which we could get into later. But because growing up on military bases, it's a melting pot.
Absolutely.
So then we moved there, and I was like, I don't understand why people don't like me. This is weird.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I grew up there because that's where my dad retired. He retired in Fort Lee. And then I pretty much stayed there. I moved to Miami for a year with my mom, and we lived in Hialeah. And then I moved back, and then just finished out school there. And then,
so you were really all over the place,
dude, constantly, bro. Like we've moved a lot.
So did you have an opportunity to like have a large pool of friends? Were you an introvert, or going to all these different places? Were you able to make friends, or how was that?
So I guess the best way to say is like I'm an extroverted introvert. I think I've become more introverted as I've gotten older. But you have to be outgoing or you're not going to make friends. Like when you move that much, and especially to a small town where kids have grown up with each other, their parents went to school with each other.
Yeah.
And then you're the kid that like comes out of the place. You know what I mean? So, you got to be outgoing. I played sports. I played baseball growing up, played football. I was a huge skateboard kid. So that was a massive, massive part of my upbringing, a massive part of kind of like the way I look at life and the way I do things.
And your nationality is?
I'm Puerto Rican.
Okay.
Yeah, both my parents are Puerto Rican.
There you go. That's why we get along so well.
I think so. Cream of the crop, baby.
Cream of the crop. There you go. 2 Puerto Ricans having a podcast. What are we doing here? All right, go ahead.
But
there's gonna be a whole lot of laughing in this one. I can see.
but yeah, so that was pretty much it, man. And like growing up was, I don't know. I played sports. I wasn't really like super stellar at sports.
Yeah.
I was athletic. Like I could move. I had basic hand-eye coordination. I wasn't going to be your first pick, but I wasn't like the last pick. That's pretty much the best way I could explain.
Fair.
So yeah, I ran track in high school. I played baseball all the way up until middle school, football until I realized I was too small for that. But skateboarding is the biggest thing that's stuck. And then school itself, though, I was not a great student. That was its own It's its own dilemmas.
I guess your own story on that one.
Yeah,
huh?
well, it's, you know, nowadays they have like IEPs, they have a better understanding of like what a student with ADHD is, what a kid with dyslexia is.
So IEPs, individualized education plans.
Yes. So, and that's for kids with learning disabilities, right? As they coin them now. When I went to school, you were just dumb. That was it. Like you were in the classroom with 2 teachers because you weren't getting it. That was it, bro. Like there was no like.
I'm laughing way too hard at this,
bro. But it's a fact, dog. Like,
I know.
Now
I'm with
it's
you,
like you know they pull you out. They have interventions. They always, bro. When I was in class, teachers be like, ugh. And then like next thing you know, I'm in like the math class with like 2 teachers and this kid's licking a wall, and I'm like, yo, I'm here, son. You know.
So with that, you wasn't a great student. Let's just say that.
No, because
was it because your attention span?
Yeah. So
Okay.
that was the biggest factor. But with the problem that I ran into, and I didn't learn until I got into the military that wasn't the case, was you can buy into what people tell you, and it can fuck your life up.
True.
And that's essentially what happened. Is like, as a kid, I bought into I was stupid, and so I was like, oh, I guess I'm stupid. Like this lady says I'm dumb, you know, because I have questions. So I'm stupid. And it wasn't until I joined the military and I went to courses and I was like, no, this makes sense. Boom, boom, boom. You do it like that. I'm like, holy shit, I can learn. Like, and then I realized like I'm not dumb. It's just the way they were selling it. So you have to be careful about where you live mentally when people say things to you and what you allow in. Because honestly, all through high school, until my last year of high school, I was the stupid kid and I just bought into it. So I was like, yo, I got to be mad, funny, and charismatic because that's all I got.
Yeah.
And then finally, my last year of high school, everybody was going to college. And I was like, I want to fucking go to college. Like, you know what I mean? So I literally doubled down, got my grades up just enough to graduate. And I went to community college. And then but I still wasn't prepared for that. So I flunked out of community college, primarily because I wanted to skate more than I wanted to go to school. And then that's how I essentially joined the Marine Corps.
So, man, that's an interesting transition.
Yeah.
Going from being a skateboarder,
Yeah.
knowing that you're saying that you're dumb, you're stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you were saying.
Yeah, but I mean, you
Right.
buy into it sometimes.
You bought into it, and then you flunk out of community college.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Like that's a weird transition here. How'd you go to the Marine Corps? It was like all
So,
this, and then Marines. It was like, go ahead.
So that's a crazy story, but it's a true story, right?
Okay,
So
I'm ready for it.
And I don't know, like, I heard your last episode, they talked about God a little bit. So there's everything in my life, there's a sprinkle of that. And I'm going to transparently talk about it. So
No, I appreciate you listening to the podcast as well. And coming in here prepared.
you tried to.
Yeah. You would try to catch me on something. I can see that.
But so anyway, I graduated high school and my dad used to always say, like, don't join the military. I did it so you didn't have to.
Okay.
Right. And then at that time when he joined, he couldn't speak English. So he was learning English in the military, in the infantry, in the Army, before he transitioned to the Army band, which my dad's a talented trumpet player. But it was one of those things, he couldn't speak English, so he didn't know what he was getting into. He just needed to leave the country. Not like in a negative way. He just wanted to better himself. So he was an advocate for not joining the military. So I had in my head, like, I'm not going to join the military. I'm going to go to art college, right? And I want to go to art school initially. I talked to my dad about it because I've always been an art kid. And my dad was like, you should do something that makes money because art's not going to make money. And at that time, social media was not a thing. People didn't need videographers. That wasn't like you were either going to be a magazine photographer, National Geographic, or that led in good luck. So I was like, he's probably right. So I started working. I was going to college to be a psychologist. Dropped out of that after the first year because I just wasn't prepared. And then me and my friends at the time were just not. We were making a lot of mistakes. And I was making a lot of stupid decisions as a kid for a lot of reasons outside of the military, a lot of family stuff, a lot of just teenager shit. And I got to the point where I was looking at my, like, what is it, 5 and 25, whatever it is where you're looking around, right? And once the dust settled, I was like, bro, I'm fucked. Like, if I don't get my shit together, I'm screwed. And I even had a recruiter come to my job. I was working at JCPenney at the time. He was like, what's up, big dog? You want to join the Marine Corps? And I told him to go fuck himself. I was like, bro, you can go fuck yourself. I'm not joining the military. A year later, that guy is the guy that signed my contract.
Oh, I bet he was just looking at you with just pure, like,
it's crazy. But so the thing was,
me?
like, I looked up, man, and I was just like, look, man, we're playing with drugs in a way that we probably shouldn't be. We're getting into fights constantly. We're going to like house parties without, there's no way we're leaving a house party without a fight. Every time we leave the house, we're fighting. And it was just like, bro, this is reckless. We're having to get away from cops. We're having to do all this stuff. And then I was like, this is going to catch up to the point where I'm going to get in trouble. And then like I could see my friends getting in trouble. And I was like, yo, I'm
little by little, they were, and you were like, oh, wait, I don't want to be part of this.
Yeah, I was like, bro, I'm going to be this guy, you know? And then you're going to parties where there's dudes that are like 28, 30 years old, and you're like 18, and you're like, dang, bro, what are you, like, this is weird that you're still here. Like, you know? But
you are truly the old guy at the party.
But as you start to see those people around you more frequently, you're like, damn, bro, I'm going to become this guy.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what happened. Was like, I was like, yo, this is bad. Like, I'm falling into this trap. And so then we go to this house party. We get into this huge fight. The next day, I go to check on my boy who had just come out of the Marine Corps. Like, he was on boot leave or PTAT or whatever the hell it was. Yeah. And I go to check on him. And I was not religious at the time at all. It was not a thing I did. I had a rosary in my car, but that's because I thought, like, I'm Hispanic. You should have a rosary in the car. Like, this, I really, like, that's the only reason why I had it there, bro.
All you Hispanics out there know exactly what he's talking about.
Bro, I'm dead serious. It was either a flag or a rosary. Those are the only two choices. So I was like, the rosary seems like the best choice. So I go to pick up my buddy, and I grab this rosary, and I close my eyes, and I was like, yo, if you're real, tell me what to do next, and I'll do it. Whatever it is. Whatever it is, I'll do it. And I let go, and I look up, bro. It's June in Virginia. It's like 90 degrees out. This dude is coming across the crosswalk with a crucifix on his back in the middle of summer going into my buddy's neighborhood in front of my car. Like, literally, I look up, and this dude is literally carrying a man-sized crucifix past my car into my buddy's neighborhood. And so I was like, let's rock, whatever's next. And so I turned into my buddy's neighborhood, and I was like, yo, where you going? Because he had walked out. He's like, I'm going to see my recruiter. You want to go? I said, yeah. Walked out, got out of the car with him. Didn't tell anybody. Walked in, was like, yo, how soon can I leave? And the recruiter was like, what are you talking about? And it was like, I wasn't even there for me. I was there for my boy. And I was just like, what do I got to do? What's the soonest I can leave? How does this work? And the dude was like, what do you mean? So then he's like, take this test. And I was like, all right. So I did pretty good. So he was like, holy crap, like, this is real. Like, this is code red. This is happening. So I think it was like a week or 2 weeks later, I was in Paris Island.
Really?
Yeah.
Like that fast?
It was supposed to be way faster, but I had just gotten a surgery to get plates removed from my arm. And they wanted to go see my orthopedic surgeon. So I think I could have left in like 6 days or something like that. But they needed to get clearance from my orthopedic surgeon because I had 2 plates and 9 screws in my arm from skateboarding.
Wow.
And I had taken him out like a year prior. And so they were like, if he falls or something, he could shatter his arm. And so my orthopedic surgeon told my recruiter that was with me, he's like, yeah, he could probably join like a year. And so I don't know this guy's name, so I guess it doesn't matter that I'm about to say this. So we walk out, and he goes, how bad do you want to do this? And I said, bro, it's the only choice I have. And he ripped up the letter and was like, yo, he said you were good. And I said, that's what I heard. And then, boom, I was gone.
Beautiful. It's true Marine Corps recruiter ways.
Yeah. Bro, but here's the thing.
You know what? It's funny because sometimes you have to, you have to skirt that line.
Hands down, dude, it was the best decision I've ever made in my life.
It's amazing as you tell your story because I'm sure a lot of us who are Marines, all our Marine veterans that are out there, we all are sitting here going, yeah, it sounds just like my story or something similar to that.
Pretty close.
So you get in the Marine Corps. Yeah. What year was this?
2006.
2006.
No, 2007. I graduated in 06. I graduated in 2007.
So 2007 is when you joined. Yeah. And at this point, you have been skateboarding. Mm-hmm. You flunked out of community college.
Yeah, I was killing it.
And I mean, but the thing is what's crazy is that's what this podcast is about. Yeah. You figured it the F out. Yeah. Somehow, some way, you found your way to the Marine Corps recruiter, whether it was by the universe, by God, or just you and your actions. Mm-hmm. So now you're in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. You go through boot camp. You graduate. You go through all the, the education stuff that comes along with the first, beginning. And you get your job. And what was your job?
So back up, because there's a good point. There's a small good point to make. And this is where you can fuck up a good opportunity and not know it. Okay. Right? And so when I say like the Marine Corps is the best decision I ever made, I almost didn't have that opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I get into the Marine Corps minus the doctor's approval or whatever we get in. I go through boot camp and I realize like, yo, this is mad easy. And not to insult the Marine Corps, it's just my dad was prior military,
Mm-hmm.
and he was very structured.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we did was boot camp. And so I was like, yo, this is not uncommon.
And you know my history.
Yeah.
So you know I was a Marine Corps drill instructor.
Yeah.
And I saw recruits like yourself that it was very easy for them. They were like, okay, hey, I'm supposed to wake up this time. I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do. Like, well, how hard is this?
Yeah, there was nothing that boot camp threw at me that I was like, oh God.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, all right. Like, it sucks. It's intense. Like, it's unpleasant. But at that time, I told myself, like, it's either this or I'm going to be a bum.
Okay.
So I'm, just kind of fall back into what I knew and don't be a bum. And then the best advice my dad told me before I left, because initially he was pissed, but then he was like, all right, you're going to do it anyway. He said, just because they're hurt or just because they're tired doesn't mean you are. And that's it. He was like, just remember that. Just because they are doesn't mean you are. And so I just kept that in my head. That was like, yo, if they're just because they are doesn't mean I am. Like, I'm in my own space. And so I kind of fall into that. I do pretty good in boot camp. Like,
I want you to save that phrase for later.
Okay.
Save that phrase for later. I got something for you.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
And then so I do pretty good in boot camp, and like I'm not honor grad, but I'm not trash. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's fine. And then I get into MCT. I actually get a meritorious mass in MCT. And then I go to MOS school. And so this is where
MCT, Marine Combat Training,
training.
Which is where they take Marines that are not infantrymen and they teach them infantry tactics. And then you went to your MOS school, which is military occupational specialty.
Yeah.
So that's your job that you're going to be actually.
Yes. Yeah. For the people that don't, my bad. I'm talking.
Oh no, I got you. That's why I'm doing the translation here.
I decided to be an embarkation specialist and logistics specialist.
Okay.
So the short term for that is embarker. You essentially plan things, you pack things, you move things. That's essentially in a nutshell, it's what you do. I knew what I was getting into because I selected that job and I signed it. Most of the kids in that class thought they were going to be a million other things, right? But where I guess I made a turn in my life, I was going through MCT, boot camp, all that stuff during the holidays. And so when I got to MOS school, I was there during like Christmas break. So we had like 2 96s back to back. So the first 96, they give us the brief. And they're like, yo, okay, no underage drinking. Don't leave without a buddy. Don't sign out when you're not supposed to. Don't fraternize with female students. And be back when you're supposed to. Well, your boy was like, none of those apply to me, right? Just because it applies to him, don't mean it applies to me. Anyway, so I literally did all of those things that I wasn't supposed to do. And my roommate at the time got drunk. I sent him back to the barracks because I was trying to talk to a lady. And he, by the duty, got caught because he was puking on the floor. So then they're like, everybody come back. And so we all come back and I'm like, this is it, bro. I did it, And so I go back, and the dude's like, yo, who's responsible? I told the dude, yo, it's all my fault. I planned it. I did everything. We go to class. The instructors call me in the office, and they're like, who all was with you? And I did the thing where you're like, yo, it was just me. And they're like, okay, we know that's not true. But I was like, yo, it was just me. I did it all. So, again, standard policy, I was going to get NJP'd and then get kicked out for a failure to adapt. All of those instructors pulled me in, and they looked at me and they said, look, dude, all of us have been NJP'd, and it's been a tarnish on our career, and it's a pain in the ass. And they were like, we think that you could actually be good at this, so we're not going to do paperwork. But they were like, but the next month and a half is going to be the worst month of your life. And they're like, but if you're good with that, then you'll be fine. And I was in that moment, I thought, before they said any of that, I remember thinking, I'm going to be that guy back home. And I'm going to talk about how, oh, I was in the Marine Corps. And then someone's going to be like, how long? And you're like, 6 months. And then you got to explain, and I just realized, I'd fucked up the one option I had to not be a bum. And so I was like, yo, whatever. It's whatever. And bro, that month and a half was gnarly. It was everything you could imagine.
It's funny because we actually had a conversation about hazing and initiation on my and that's a podcast episode that's coming out here pretty soon. And I am for initiation. Yeah. And I guess a little bit of hazing is warranted, but there's where somebody takes it too far. Yeah. In your case, it was warranted. Yeah. Well,
it was everything I needed.
It was everything.
And I didn't even know I needed it.
Absolutely. And it made you a better man.
100%. So I took it seriously and I realized like I have an opportunity here.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was like I was doing better in the classes. So I was like, okay, I'm actually retaining information. I have an opportunity. I'm retaining information. I'm doing well. It's physical. I play sports. This is great. So then I get out of MOS school. And then, I mean, from day one in the Marine Corps to 2 years flat, I was a sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
I was a black belt instructor. I had been, meritorious masses. I had a NAM by that time. Like, I was doing everything so quickly because of those dudes' opportunity that they gave me. And so I was like, yo, I just bought in, essentially.
So you get through your military career.
Yeah.
Now, during this time as well, you had met your wife as well.
Yeah, first duty station.
So first duty station, right? You met your wife, and so now you're getting married. You got all these great things happening. Let's fast forward.
Okay.
Now we're at the end of your service. How many years?
12 and a half.
12 and a half.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have a lot of people that are on this podcast listening to this going, 12 and a half?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just finish off the last
It's a
8,
great story.
right?
Yeah.
Now, I wanted you to talk about that one, but I also want you to flow into your transition to civilian world.
Okay. So I'll short scoop how I got out, and then I'll go into it. So essentially, I had kids. So when I joined the Marine Corps, as I was getting out of like MOS school and my career was taking off, I used to tell her all the time, like, I can do 30 years. It's going to be mad cake. Like, I'm going to be Sergeant Major in the Marine Corps. I literally thought I was going to be Sergeant Major in the Marine Corps. But then once I had kids, and you start missing birthdays, and then you start, you're missing birthdays, you're missing holidays, you're just missing so much. And then you're seeing those dudes' careers, or how many divorces they've had, or how many of their kids don't mess with them. And it's like, bro, do I want to be that guy? Like, and I had a mentor when I was getting ready to get out, and I was on the like fence about it now, because I was like, man, I'm at 12 years, I could knock this out. I called my mentor and I said, hey, Master Guns, what do you think? And he said, brother, you remember how much I love my wife? And I was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, we're divorced. He was like, my son doesn't talk to me. He was like, if I could go back and do it all again, I would definitely choose my family. And that's when I was like, bet.
So you get out.
So I got out.
And now you don't have that paycheck every 1st and 15th.
Bro.
You don't have that medical
Funny
insurance.
story about that. So I get a job. So because
I'm hitting all the wickets today, aren't I? Go ahead.
So I get out, right? And initially, initial job's embarkation specialist. Then you become a log chief. And then I became an IT, which is instructor, trainer, in martial arts. Biggest keyword there is instructor. You are taught to become a phenomenal platform instructor. So my first job out, I worked at a casino, human resources, as an instructor and learning development like manager. And I was teaching like leadership and development to directors. I was teaching like crucial conversations, all this other stuff. Literally my first job out of the Marine Corps. So I have like a great salary. I'm like great job. But my first paycheck, I'm like, okay, I'm getting like 65. So a month it should be this. And then I get my paycheck and I hit up my HR like numbers lady. I said, yo, this is wrong. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, yo, I did the math, bro. My check is mad short. Like, this is not right. And she was like, well, let's go through it. And I was like, okay, but this isn't right. And so she goes through it, and she's like, no, it's all there. And I said, no, it's not. Because I was like, yo, $65,000 a year should break out to this. She was like, yeah, but after state taxes, after federal taxes, after this and that, and after insurance and all this other stuff, this is what you get. And I was like, I'm not going to make it. I was like, bro, we are not going to, I was like, $65,000 isn't enough.
Yeah.
I was like, it's not. Yeah.
And how many kids?
3.
3 kids.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay,
So-
go ahead. And all that at this time they were all young.
Yeah, little. So I get out, and mind you, at this time, so the minute I get out of the Marine Corps, probably up until this date today, it was all humbling experiences. So at the time when we were in California, we were in the biggest, nicest house I'd ever lived in my entire life. Like, not just like as an adult, like my whole life. And then when I got out, we had to condense and downsize. So now I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment with me and my 3 kids. All 3 kids are in one room. And I'm just starting this career. And I'm like, yo, 65, we'll have a house next year. And then I'm doing the math and I'm like, yo, this ain't working. And then COVID hit. So like from 2019 when I got out, probably until like current day right now, it's just been learning and humbling and like, okay, we're going to maneuver. You got to pivot. Like, what do you, and like, so I guess what you're getting to is right before I got out, I had started a t-shirt company with a buddy of mine. And he was like, yo, I just need some help. You know a lot about fashion. That's your vibe. Can you help out? And I said, yeah. So we started this t-shirt company. We hired a dude to take photos. And then we just didn't like him. Like, it was like, yo, they're okay. But like, he kind of managed the direction of it. He wasn't really buying into like the brand idea. And so I was like, yo, we could just buy a camera ourselves and like take the photos, and we're going to save the $700-800 we paid, and we'll make our money back. And my buddy was like, yo, why would you do something yourself that you could pay somebody else to do? And I said, I get that, but we're a startup company. Like, we don't have that kind of funds. And so I bought a camera, and I was like, yo, we'll just take pictures of our own stuff. And the first, they were not great. They were not good. But what I found was like, I just really enjoyed taking pictures. And so then I would take the camera with me everywhere. And, you know, if my daughter had an appointment, I would walk around and take pictures of myself or the area. And then it was like, yo, I really enjoy this. And then, and mind you, this time I'm still working full time at the casino. And then I wanted a new lens, and I was like, dang, this lens is like $300. And then right then, $300 is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so I asked my wife, I said, hey, this lens is like $300, but I don't want to pay for it. And she was like, well, why don't you just do like family photos on the side, like charge people? I was like, yo, you think people will like pay me for this? And she was like, I mean, $50, you know, maybe. So I started doing family photos in Temecula for $50.
Temecula, California.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And yeah, dude, I was getting paid $50 for family photo shoots, and I got enough money to buy the lens that I wanted. And then, but people were still hitting me up on Facebook, and I was like, all right. So then $50 turned into like $85. And then $85, I was like, dang, bro, I'm real busy. Like, you think maybe $100 is like, you think $100? So I started charging $100, and I was like, no one's gonna like. And then I was still busy, and I was like, this is crazy. And then, so I was making a little bit of money. It was helping out with like the bills and everything we were doing. But I realized I just really liked it. And even at work, while I was working, I'd shut my office during lunch and I'd be editing, or I'd be watching like YouTube videos on photos and photography, and I just fell in love with it.
So it became your passion.
Yeah.
But then you also started to notice that you were able to make good money off of it.
Well, just money in general, dude.
Money in general.
Once you make your own dollar, there's nothing like it. Like, there's literally
say it again to those entrepreneurs out there. There's a gem.
Like, once you make your own dollar, like, there's nothing like that. Knowing that you can make your own money, there's nothing in the world that you can't do. Like, especially,
and I would say it's very hard to go back.
Yeah,
you know, to somebody dictating, your pay besides yourself.
Yeah. So like right now, I couldn't fathom getting could not fathom. But,
I know.
Yeah.
Because me and you dealt with that together.
But
I'm going to tell that story because that's an interesting story as well. You know, we'll get into how you met me, but I'll never forget the line. Bro, I don't work for you.
I don't
work for you. Yeah. And I looked at him and I said, I'm paying you.
Yeah, we work together.
And we ain't working together. We work, and me and him went toe to toe on that concept. But then I laughed about it because I'm an entrepreneur myself.
Yeah.
So it's like I actually respected it. Yeah. And was like, well, you know what? Okay, that's fine. You know, it's good. You're a 1099 then, an independent contractor.
That's it all day long.
Let's go.
So I was doing the family photos.
Yeah.
And then, I wanted to get into fashion because that was my vibe.
Yeah.
So I was on Instagram and I noticed this company, and this is kind of where it goes full circle for us. Mm-hmm. And they had their own like lifestyle streetwear brand. So there's 3 big parts that lead to me and you, right? And so the first big part was I saw this brand, and at first I thought they were just a lifestyle fitness brand, self-made, right? Mm-hmm. And I was still working at the casino, and I was like, okay, I just want to take pictures of clothes. So I hit them up on Instagram. I said, hey, new to the area, new to the industry. If you have any like need for someone to create content, I'd love to. And like, here's some photos I've taken, which were all family photos or pictures of me. Mm-hmm. And then Riley hit me up.
Shout out to my man Riley.
Shout out to Riley forever.
Shout out to Riley Clayton, man.
So Riley hit me up and was like, yo, come through and pick some stuff up. And I remember texting my wife. I was like, yo, the brand told me to come pick up some stuff. I'm going to go do it. So I leave my office from work. So I'm in like a tie, slacks, like loafers. I go to Self-Made. I'm like, oh, it's like a gym. This is nuts. And he just was like, yo, grab whatever you want and then just send me some stuff. And so I just grabbed a couple T-shirts, some other stuff, and found some models online, shot some work, sent it to him. He was like, bro, yeah, anytime, like, just come through, grab some stuff. And
Now,
so,
the funny part is, I got to say this.
yeah.
At the time, what was this, 2021?
No, this is right before COVID.
So it's 2019.
Yeah.
Riley Clayton was, I think at that time, maybe 20 years old.
Yeah. He was super savvy for his age.
He's
ahead of his time.
He's way ahead of his time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's like 20 years old telling you, yeah, grab a couple T-shirts.
Yeah, mind you, I'm like 32.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that fact
No, yeah.
because it's always interesting when I hear about, either Riley or people like Riley that are so young, but yet so savvy. And it took me and you a little longer than most. But go ahead.
So at this time, I'm shooting clothes for Self-Made. This is actually a funny story. One of the Marines I was stationed with, he knew that I was getting into photography, and he was like super like uplifting about it. Well, he sends me an Instagram DM of this chick. Her name's Monty Swole. That's her Instagram name.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yo, she's looking for a photographer. She's got mad followers. This could be good for you. Like, give it a shot. And I was like, yo, I kind of like fitness. I kind of like clothes. We could try this. Bro, I drove to Oxnard from Temecula for free.
That
to
is a
do
drive.
to do a shoot and back.
We're talking
same day.
I'm talking about probably about 5 or 6 hours.
4.5 without traffic, my guy.
There you go.
Yeah. So on the way home, like 6 hours. So it was like it was 9 hours of just driving for free because I wanted the experience to have like an influencer and do fitness, and I knew I wanted to get into fitness because my end goal I wanted to do bodybuilders because I grew up seeing bodybuilding magazines. And I was like, yo, I would love to do that. So I was like, if this is an opportunity, I'm going to take it. So I remember talking to the wife about it. I was like, what do you think? So I literally took a PTO day, like paid time off day, drove out there, did a shoot for 2 hours just to drive back, just to create content. And then it turned out that like then you start building a network. So through those photos, I found this other girl. Her name's Amanda, which is a good friend of mine. Shout out to Amanda. And I hit her up. And literally my whole DM was like, yo, I'm not a creeper. I'm married and I got 3 kids. I'm just trying to take dope photos, and you look like you need somebody that takes, content.
That's an awesome DM.
Yeah, because I assumed, like, you probably get a lot of dudes that hit you up, and I'm not, like, that's not who I am, right?
Yeah.
And so she said that line was, like, the reason why she, like, hit me up.
Yeah.
So she said, yo, come to Little Tokyo in L.A. and shoot some T-shirts. So threw the whole family in the car. We drove to L.A., Little Tokyo, to shoot some T-shirts, and then from there, she was like, I'm taking over this company. Can you be the creative director? And I was like, bet. So then that's the first time. And mind you, I'm still working full time at this job.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went and did a brand launch at Joshua Tree. And then I didn't even charge her, bro. I didn't even bring up money because I just was like, I just love doing this.
Yeah.
And then as we're on the way home, like mind you, I got an Airbnb out of my own pocket. I get a Apple Cash pay for like $1,200-1,300. And I looked at my wife and I said, yo, I just made more than I make with my career, like in a weekend. And that was it. Like as soon as I got that $1,300 payment, that's when I was like, I could do this. I could do this full time. This could be a thing.
I love you mentioned it a few times, and I think it's important to reiterate.
Yeah.
I did it for free.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a hard time with that, and they don't understand that that's really some of the most important aspects of entrepreneurship is being able to provide value for free.
Yeah. Well,
but then knowing your value and
Exactly.
being able to price your value, your price point of your value later on in the future. And because you have a plan, you're not just handing things out for free, just for free. You knew that you were like, okay, wait a minute. I want the experience.
Yeah.
But once I get the experience,
it's networking.
It's game on.
Yeah.
Right. So speak of now you've getting some clout with your photography because you wasn't into videography yet.
No.
You were doing just straight
just
photography.
Photo. That was my thing. I was
right?
like, I want to be a great photographer.
Right. And then so how'd you land in Texas?
Oh, okay. So COVID hit, and me and my wife at that time worked for the same casino company, and they furloughed everyone. So now it's me and my wife in this 2-bedroom apartment. I think it was 800 square feet with my 3 kids. And at that time in San Diego, like California area, it was like legit lockdown. Like, and it rained, which was also super creepy for like the first 3 weeks. And so we were like, yo, what are we going to do? Because what we knew about furlough is someone was getting their job back, but we didn't know who. And at that time, we both needed to work. And so I had flirted with the idea of being a photographer full time. I was like, God, it would be so great if something, like if I could. It was always this if. And so I always tell people, be careful what you ask the universe, because the universe will put you in that position way faster than you're ready for. Like, you keep saying it, they're going to see if you want it. And so that's what happened. Like, COVID hit, we essentially lost our jobs for a period of time. Then it was looking like she wasn't going to be able to work. And I was like, we just can't live like that. So the wife was like, yo, what if we go back to Texas? And I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do in Texas? You know? And she's like, well, you could do the photo thing. And I said, I don't know anybody in Texas. But we had always said, because we got married here, we met here, when we're ready to settle, maybe we go back, you know? And there's great veterans benefits. So that's why we're like, maybe we'll take advantage of that long term.
Mm-hmm.
But we knew no one, no family, no one there. Like, we hadn't been here in like 10, 12 years. And so I was like, yo, run the numbers. If they make sense, I'm down. Because I'll pull the trigger to an extent. Like, if the numbers make sense and then we just got to figure out the rest, all right. And so literally with COVID, because of the situation, we had a decent amount of money saved up. So we had enough money to do the business for 10 months without jobs. And that's it. So 10 months was like, we turned into a pumpkin, we got to get jobs. And so we were like, run it, let's go. So literally we let our job know that when they open back up, don't worry about it, we're not coming back. Hired a moving company, all that stuff, and started looking for houses online. And luckily one dude, I guess because it was COVID, because I was honest with everybody. I said, look, I don't have a job, but I get a pension, and, you know, I've never not paid rent. And finally one dude was like, yo, as long as you pay rent, I don't care. And so I was like, that's where we're going to live.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we moved and drove from California, whole family in the car.
This is some FitFo for your ass, right?
Yeah.
Here.
So whole no clients, no idea. Literally all I had done is lifestyle fitness, never bodybuilding. The only thing I had done before I moved, I had like $700-800. And I found this dude online on YouTube who was doing a mentor group for photography, for lighting. And I was like, I bet you that'll make my fitness stuff look dope.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, I would love to pay for that. How much is it? The initial setup was $500, and then he would tell you what you needed to buy. It was literally every dollar I had in my business account. So the $800 I had went straight to this mentorship group.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I learned lighting, I learned posing, I learned just everything that kind of like what I do in my business now, I learned from this dude.
So you invested in education.
Yeah, at the time.
Which I keep harping on
Yeah.
to so many people, that you have to invest in your education. Yeah. If you don't invest in your education, I mean, and I said it today actually to a trainer that I was mentoring today. And I said, you know, investing in education is one thing.
Yeah.
Putting it to action to be able to monetize is another.
100%.
So it's like, don't just get the education.
You got to do something with it.
Do something with it so you can monetize it, so
Yeah.
you can get compensated for the education that you have.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Which actually, the whole reason why I got into lighting, back to self-made. Self-made has actually always been a part of my career in some weird way, right? What's the dude's, not Riley, but the other dude, Hassan.
Oh, John.
John.
Mm-hmm.
So John took this picture of, tell me I can't think of his name right now. Miguel.
Mm-hmm.
He was coming down the stairs, and he was in his gi, and it was like backlit, and it just, I'd never seen a photo like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I DM'd John. I said, yo, how did you do this? And he said, yo, I had one here, this. And I was like, one what? He's like, lights, bro. He's like, you want a next level, you got to get lights. And so I literally went home and was like, yo, baby, he says I need lights. So so then we started looking on YouTube, and I was like, all right, fitness lighting, how do I do it? And then this dude, Brett Seeley, popped up. And at the time, I didn't know how deep into the industry he was, but he's like top 3 fitness bodybuilding photographers ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, he was like mentorship group. So I paid for it. I bought all these lights, all this stuff. Mind you, still COVID. Like, I'm in my 2-bedroom apartment with my kids, going to these mentorship classes with this big ass light in my house, just hitting buttons, just trying to figure it out. So then, you know, we moved to Texas, and I tell my wife, like, I told Brett, I said, yo, I'm moving to Texas. What do I do? He said, well, you got to get yourself out there somehow. And so on Instagram, I started putting out like, yo, moving to Texas, if you know anybody, like shit like that, right? But I had like 400 followers. Nobody was going to see this. Well, one dude hits me up, and he said, yo, when are we shooting? And I said, who are you? Like, what are you talking about? And he said, you put a thing out about Destination Dallas. When are we going to shoot? And I said, snap, this is dope. Let's do it. But I didn't know at the time that Destination Dallas was 2 hours from my house where I was going to be living. So when we get here, I was like, yo, it's 2 hours away. This is for free. Like, I'm not really feeling this. Like, I don't even know this dude. And the wife was literally like, what the hell else are we doing? Like, why else are we here? So I was like, bet. So I get in the car. I drive 2 hours, shoot with this guy. It turns out that he's a super nice, great dude, and just well-connected in certain pockets of bodybuilding. Through him, I met 2 other clients and one of my best friends till this day, who's also my business mentor, through this one dude. And then he also put me on into like the bodybuilding scene with other athletes. And so that one free shoot has probably trickled into like most of what I'm doing now. And then, rest in peace, he was actually killed a year later in his parking garage in Dallas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was a wild story. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But essentially, to go what you're saying, in this industry, you have to be willing to do things for free. You have to. But the problem with it is, and where it gets weird and finicky, is it's like swimming with a life jacket on. At some point, you've got to take it off. And then you've got to be willing to say, this is my price. If not, you're going to drown.
So now you meet me.
Yeah.
I get here to Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm brand new. I'm like you.
Yeah,
I didn't know anybody. I just took over this business.
Yeah.
Self-made training facility in Dallas, and I have to grow it. And I know, because I worked at corporate with Riley side by side and John, that I know that photography, videography, media is super important to marketing of a brand and of a business. So, I'm looking for somebody. And I think Riley is the one that actually linked us up.
Yeah, he connected us. Yeah.
He connected us, and then...
So the weird part about that is I actually tried to, when we moved here, I hit up Riley and I said, yo, do you guys got one of these in Dallas? And he said, yo, we actually are literally in the process of building one. So when I got to Self-Made, it was just a building with black walls. There was like a hole in the middle of like the lobby floor. There was no AC. They were using porta-johns. And I was like, yo, I got a client. I just need to do a shoot. And then I met the current or the temporary owner then. And we tried to set up a deal where I did maybe content and stuff like that. It didn't really work out. Then there was a new person that was going to manage it. We tried to set up a deal, and it kind of fickled. But I think they had gotten the keys and started painting, and then we were here like a month later. And then that's when the initial grand opening happened, because I was here. I did the content for the graffiti on the walls and all that stuff. And that's actually when I started doing video, because Miguel, he hit me the game, and I was like, yo, I got to do video. Yeah, because they did the graffiti thing, and the videographer that Miguel hired was late. It was like some young kid. And Miguel came to me before he showed up. He said, yo, my man, you do video? I said, no, I only do photo. And he said, that's stupid. And I was like, what? And he was like, bro, do you understand how much money you're losing? And I was like, what do you mean? And so, bro, he pulls out his phone, and it was like, there's this many trainers in this facility. You could charge this based off of what Riley charges in this location. And then if you do that, this is how much you're going to make a month. He's like, this is how much you're losing a month because you don't do video. He's like, this kid has that opportunity. He's late. He just missed it. You're here. What are we doing? And so I literally I text my wife and said, babe, we're doing video. Yeah. And so I literally went home and just started, what's the basics of video? How does it work?
And I remember when me and you met, it was something that you were like, look, bro, I'm new to this video stuff.
It's true.
I'm great at photography.
Yeah.
But I'm new to the video stuff. So we're gonna have to work through this.
Yeah.
And I said, bro, let's go. I'm good. Plus, you were Puerto Rican, so I was like, oh, well, we're family.
It helps.
Yeah, it definitely did help. And then we started creating content somewhat together, brainstorming, right? And you actually were a big reason why I was able to grow the brand like I did. And, it's truth.
Yeah, I don't think about that kind of stuff. But
you don't, but it's true. Because think about this. I went from 27 trainers when I stepped on the floor September 1st, 2022. Yeah. 10 months later, I had 58 trainers.
Oh, yeah, that's dope.
Who was doing all my content at that time? You, my guy, and me. Because remember, there was a lot of selfie videos in there, too.
At the beginning, yeah.
But you put yourself behind the camera, and you put the talent in front of the camera. So talent behind, talent in front, and we had a great thing going. Yeah. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Well, I think the biggest important thing to that, too, is I've always been fascinated with media, like marketing and just sales in general in that sense. So even when I shoot or anything that I do with clients, I'm always looking how are you going to sell this? What's the intent? Who are you trying to get to buy what? And so I think we work so well together because you have the same idea, but you're the salesman. And I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying. Creatively, this is how we get that thing to land.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I think that's why it works so well, is because we both understood what's the end goal. As long as you know the target audience, what's the end goal, you can create and build. Maybe you don't know how to work a camera, but I understand the sales and idea what you're getting, and I know how to work a camera. So it just like,
Yeah, because my thing is more like I know the vision.
Yeah.
And so I need somebody who's behind the camera that can create.
Yeah.
For the vision, and to be able to show the vision, which you did phenomenally, by the way.
Thanks, man.
But we, of course, you grew.
Yeah.
Your business grew.
Yeah.
You went from
blessing.
Q photography. I think you had a whole bunch of different names.
Well, it was Q the photographer.
Uh-huh.
And then it was Q the photographer media. Way too long.
Yeah.
And then, but the media thing came from you.
Yeah.
Because initially it was always Q the photographer, and then that's when people were like, do you do video? And then I was like, well, I kind of do a lot of both. And you're like, bro, you're more media than anything. You should think about that.
Yeah, because now you have a bigger encompassing
Yeah.
realm. Even though it's the same target market, you can do so much with your creativity.
Yeah.
Which you have obviously done so well. You're a massive staple in the bodybuilding photography world now.
Yeah.
Especially out here in Texas.
I don't know about that, but I mean, I do pretty good.
One thing I've learned about you, I can never give you a freaking compliment.
It's weird, man. I should take them. I got to do a better job of it.
We'll just go ahead and cut this podcast.
No.
But at the end of the day, it is the truth.
Yeah, you're right.
It is the truth.
Right.
You have a large footprint here in the Dallas, Texas area as far as photography and videography of bodybuilding shows.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you're well respected. Trust me, because I hear it. I have a lot of friends now. I mean, my network has grown as well, I hear, you. So, man, we could probably talk for hours.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and speed this up real quick.
Okay.
I want to ask you one distinct question.
Sure.
And I want you to go ahead and dive right in.
Okay.
What is the future of Q Media?
So there's a couple things. One, what did the owner here?
Terrence Price.
Terrence said creative excellence. That's the next. So that's step one, right? So it's a checklist in my mind. And so step one was moving. So we moved. I'm in a nicer house, family situated.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was step one.
Okay.
That was goal one. Goal two now is creative excellence. So now it's creating a standard. So I preach to my kids all the time, you have to have a standard. And I think that that's something that I've lacked in my business. That I'll run and gun, and I'll lean so much on my creativity that I'm like, I don't even need to prep for this. I'm just gonna go do it. But now it's to the point where you're at a level where, okay, you're doing so well and you're at a level that you're playing at to where if you just run and gun, people are gonna see it and you can tell the difference. So that's step two is creative excellence. So mood boards, planning, having better creative ideas, creating at a higher level. And then three is studio. So I'm in the process of looking at spaces here in like the Allen, Frisco, McKinney area.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially there's a guy in London, his name is Bailey Photo. And he has a studio that looks exactly like a boutique gym, but it's a photo studio. And then one half is white walls and all this stuff, and the other half is a gym. So that's essentially what I'm going to do here. I'm going to do half white walls and regular photography stuff. And then the other half is going to look exactly like a boutique gym. And so in that, because the bodybuilding space is so big here, a lot of times these guys have to either rent space at a gym, schedule with other gyms on off days and things like that. But we can rent that space and you don't have to worry about anybody. There's never going to be a patron in there. It's your brand, your person, your social media influencer, whatever. And then me and my buddy that are doing it, we use it for our clients. And I don't have to worry about gym fees. I don't have to worry about being in someone's way. And so then it's consistent. Right? Because it's
a beautiful idea, man.
If you have a consistency that you can produce, then you can scale, right? But you can't scale things that are inconsistent. And so that's where it's hard right now because, every gym is different. Every scenario is different. Your lighting scenarios are different. So it's hard to hire a second shooter and manage a business when it's like, yo, but what about this? And then I'm responding or I could just do it myself. But if there's a replicatable process, then it's at that point you can scale a business.
That is growth, my man.
Yeah.
That is growth. I love that. Brother, it has been an honor. It's been a blessing, man. I love it. I love this. I love what you portrayed out here. You're also a mentor because you've mentored a few of my media guys as well, and you've a couple other folks that have come through that I've referred to you. Yeah. So it's not only like you're doing your own thing, but you also give back by helping others and giving them the information. So that's important for everybody to understand. Where can they reach you? So if if you could look into the camera, tell them what's your point. Yeah, there you go. What's your point of contact? Where they can reach you? Where they can find you if they want to hire you? Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. So everything's Instagram for us. So Q Media or at _ Q Media _ is how you'll find me. Just shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm on there all the time. I'm super active. Essentially, what you see on Instagram is what you get, right? So that's, same personality. I do have a website. It's qthephotographer.com. Q Media on Instagram is the best way, though. And then from there, emails, I'll shoot those over. But Instagram is the best way to do it.
And what cities do you service?
So right now, we're everywhere from Fort Worth all the way to Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay.
And then, based case by case basis. And then during the bodybuilding season, I mean, we're from Shreveport all the way to San Antonio.
Wow. And you go to all these different bodybuilding shows, even across the United States.
Yeah. So I'll be going to Chattanooga, Tennessee. We'll be doing Olympia this year. I did the Arnold earlier this year. It's definitely expanded to a point where we're actually, but it's one of those things where like I'm actually there for a reason, not just like one day I hope I get the,
Yeah.
So it's pretty.
Well,
dope.
you've been through some hardships, my man. I can see in some pivotal moments of your life and your career that you've had to make some really hard decisions, and you did the ultimate by figuring it the F out.
That's all you can do, man.
But I will be remiss not to mention that you have an awesome partner.
She's the best.
That has helped you out, because you've mentioned her a lot of
1,000%.
times within this thing that has helped you to make those decisions. So shout out to Lena on her support of you. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is the ending of the Project FitFo podcast for me and Mr. Q Media. With that, always remember that when all else fails, figure it the F out. And we're out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like, share, subscribe the Project FitFo podcast. And please subscribe to us on YouTube and on Spotify, because we have some great content. So you definitely want to check us out. Look forward to hearing from you. Comment in the comments as well. All right, let's go.